I, 26F, have known my BF Nate, 26M, for 7 years. We met and dated from ages 19 to 22. Right when the pandemic hit, we had been together 3 years. It had been hard. Someone extremely close to us worded themselves, and we both just lost ourselves in grief. We eventually agreed we were not in the place to continue our relationship and went our separate ways. I was heartbroken in more ways than one. He was the love of my life, my best friend, my rock, and I was his gem, something he would call me. Losing our friend was hard as well. I ended up isolating myself from everyone. I cut off all of my old friends, got a new job, tried my best to move forward with my life. I dated around. No one really gave me that spark. I ended up dating someone who abused me, emotionally, mentally, physically. Tried to leave several times. He knew where my parents lived and continued to show up and win me back. I finally decided I had enough. My parents' house wasn't a safe option to flee, so I left to my brother's 40 minutes away instead. Wouldn't you know it, Nate lived right down the street from my brother. We bumped into each other and instantly connected like we had never been apart. I told him about my situation and he offered to have me stay at his place while I get back on my feet. Nate traveled often, and since he and his ex split, he didn't have a steady person to watch his cats, so I agreed. It took almost a year, but Nate and I decided to start dating again. Nate and I have been through a lot of the same trauma throughout our lives. That's how we connected originally. We just understood each other like no one else did. We were both abused by one of our parents growing up, both homeschooled. Both of us had trauma from being molested as kids by people we trusted. The similarities we share are eerie. Dating Nate again has been the safest I've felt in my life. I just feel at home. He really has been my rock. My father got diagnosed with terminal cancer a few years ago, and Nate has held my hand through it all. Nate's mom died from cancer when he was a kid. He has been such a big support, holding me as I cry, giving me reassurance as I deal with losing the only good parent I have. I've been a mess. My siblings have been there for me as well, but due to how our mother abused us, there has been a rift as our father is still together with her. I am the only child that will spend a significant amount of time with him. Nate has supported me every step of the way, staying with me at my parents, helping them around the house, making time to be there for them, often spending most of our weekends with my parents. This weekend wasn't any different. We spent the day with my parents. My father wasn't feeling well, so him and my mother went to bed early, as did Nate and I. As we were settling into bed, we ended up having sex. No big deal. After the deed was done, we were cuddling. I was stroking his skin with my fingertips as I often do, and out of nowhere he grabs my hand and puts it on his crotch. Again, not a big deal, just figure he wants a round too. So I play along. I'm trying not to get graphic, so apologies with wording. Sometime into playing with him, he whispers something to me. I position my head a little closer and say, With hitched breath he says, did you know that, when you're married, you can't testify against your husband in a court of law? I was confused ASF by this, but just said, Like seriously, WDF am I supposed to say or think with that when I am in the middle of playing with him? He continued and said, when we are married, I want you to do blank and blank to girls. I was like, okay, girls like, how old? 18? Seems a little effed up, we aren't even that old, and he wants a younger woman brought into the relationship. Ouch. Then it hits me. What if he means younger girls? So I asked him how young. He said, 10 or 11. I stopped right there. What the actual EFF, Nate? I got quiet, and he tried to tell me not to stop, and I just didn't know what to do. I froze in that moment. He knows I was abused as a kid. He was abused as a kid. I told him to go to sleep and I rolled over. I felt him try to reach for me, but he didn't, and dropped his hand on the bed and rolled over himself. He left super early in the morning to pick up his nephew from out of state. We are supposed to spend 4th of July camping. I've just been thinking about if there were any signs. He always said he loved my womanly curves and even encouraged me to gain weight. He said he wanted kids with me. I said I wanted a boy. He said he thinks he'd rather be a girl dad. It's all confusing. I remember we went to the beach a few months back and had a conversation on the car ride there. It was along the lines of, do you think people attracted to kids can be rehabilitated? Or is it hardwired in them forever? We had been listening to a podcast that mentioned MAPS, minor attracted person, so this wasn't an out-of-the-blue question, but the tone of it was. I remember telling him that I thought if you are a kid, molesting someone, there is hope for rehabilitation, as typically, kids will act out on other people what has been happening to themselves. So as long as they know it is wrong and stop, there is hope. But past a certain age, I don't think so. I think once you reach a certain age, it gets hardwired, whether you want it to or not. He didn't say much after that, and I noted that it was an odd thing for him to ask, as he is a really quiet guy and doesn't ask questions without some sort of intention. I guess now I know. I don't know what to do. I've been in our apartment stress cleaning for most of the day, and now I'm writing this. I love this man, or loved him. I don't know at this moment in time. Is there something I can do? Should I talk with him about this? Ask him to go to therapy? Ask him if he was joking? Part of me is hoping it's just some weird kink talk. I think I'm in shock over this. Am I stupid for wanting to get him help and not leaving right away? I just needed to get this off my chest. I felt disgusting since I woke up, just hoping it was a bad dream, but I know it wasn't. He really said those things. Any and all advice is appreciated.